Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're peeling back a layer on something truly unique. We're looking into the sources on the manufacturing of the Holy Quran, the Mushaf. It's this industrial process, but also deeply sacred.
Right. It's not like printing just any book.
Exactly. The sources we looked at describe it almost like, well, like rare artifacts being born in factories. It involves centuries of tradition and, frankly, extreme scrutiny.
Extreme is the word. Non-negotiable precision.
So our mission today, let's trace that journey from the very first handwritten letter by a master calligrapher through incredibly strict quality control, all the way to this massive final committee approval. We really want to get at why it demands this level of care. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, to really get why it's so rigorous now, you have to look back historically. In the early days, the Quran wasn't primarily in books. It was memorized, held in chests, as the phrase goes.
In people's memory.
Exactly. And when written down, it was on whatever was around. You know, flat stones, they called them luckaf, animal bones, bits of palm branches.
Wow, really basic materials.
Right. But then, as Islam spread, concerns started cropping up.
Concerns about what?
About the text maybe getting dispersed or different regions developing slightly different readings. It became a religious and you could say political issue.
Ah, okay.
And that's what led to the first big collection effort commissioned by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. It was actually Umar bin al-Khattab who really pushed for it.
So gathering it all together was the first step. But the sources suggest the real standardization came a bit later.
That's right. Under the third caliph, Uthman bin Affan, he took a huge step.
Which was?
He ordered copies made based on one single standardized reading. And then he sent these official copies, the Amsar, out to the major centers of the growing Muslim world.
So creating a master version, basically.
Precisely. It was a massive undertaking. You could argue it was the world's first large-scale text standardization.
And that cemented the unity of the text.
It did. It tackled both the religious concern about variations and the political need for consistency across vast distances. It really set the standard for preservation that's, well, still followed today.
Okay, so fast forward to modern manufacturing. You'd think with that history, it's all high-tech now, right? Computers, digital files.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But here's maybe the most surprising thing from the sources.
Go on.
It doesn't start with a computer file. Not at all.
Oh, how then?
It still starts with handwriting. Master calligraphers write the entire text out by hand.
Still, today?
Yes. The sources mention calligrapher Uthman Taha in Saudi Arabia, for instance. He's been doing this specific work for over 30 years.
That's incredible dedication. Is it just about beautiful writing?
It's beautiful, yes, but it's also about adhering to very strict rules. One key rule, which actually helps with memorization and reading flow, is that every single page must begin with a verse, an ayah.
Okay.
And it must end with a complete ayah. No verse gets broken across pages.
Ah, I see. So the layout is dictated by the verse structure itself.
Exactly. And that handwritten copy becomes the master. Technology does play a role, but it's secondary.
How so?
Computers are used for things like designing the decorative borders, the zakharef you see on the pages.
The ornate patterns.
Right. And they scan the handwritten pages, creating a digital version for review. But the ultimate source document, it's that human handiwork.
So that handwritten scanned file, that's what goes to the factory?
After specialists review it digitally, yes. Then it moves into the industrial phase. They transfer the text onto huge metal printing plates, usually about 8 pages, fit on one plate.
And these plates go on to the printing presses.
Correct. And the materials themselves are special. The paper isn't just standard printing paper.
Oh, what's different?
It's specially manufactured, high quality, durable, often with a specific feel. It's chosen very carefully, reflecting the idea that this book is meant to last.
Okay, so the scale must be huge. How much do they print at once?
It's massive. The sources say a single one of those giant reels of paper can produce something like 8,000 malazims.
Malazims, what are those?
They're like sections or signatures of pages before they're bound together.
Got it. So 8,000 sections.
Yeah.
How many pages is that roughly?
That works out to nearly 900,000 pages from just one reel in one continuous run.
Wow. Okay. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yep.
The quality control. What do the sources say about that?
It's intense, almost unbelievable. They pull random samples for checking literally every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes. And they're looking for absolutely any error. A tiny ink spot, a slight misalignment, anything textual.
And if they find something, even small,
an alarm goes off. The entire printing press grinds to a halt. instantly.
The whole line stopped.
The whole line. Errors are, as the sources put it, absolutely forbidden.
Stopping a massive industrial press that often? That must be incredibly costly and inefficient by normal standards.
Hugely inefficient from a purely economic standpoint. But that's the point, isn't it?
Right. It shows what the priority is.
Yeah, exactly. Textual integrity over speed over cost. It's about the sanctity of the text being manufactured.
Okay, so assuming the pages pass this constant checking, what happens next?
They're collected, carefully arranged by trained workers. That page order has to be perfect, obviously. Then they move to the binding stage, called tidlead.
Binding. Is that just glue like a normal book?
No, typically not. The sections, those melisms, are actually sewn together with heavy-duty thread.
Sewn. That's old school.
It is, and again, it speaks to permanence. This isn't meant to fall apart.
So printing is done, quality control passed, pages sewn, book bound. Now it's ready, right?
You'd think so. After all that industrial effort, nope, still not certified.
Still not. What else could there possibly be?
It enters a final review stage.
Yeah.
But this one isn't industrial at all. It has to be checked by a committee.
A committee? How many people?
According to the sources, 800 people.
800? Seriously?
800. It's an astonishing number.
What on earth are 800 people checking at this final stage? Is it just proofreading again?
It's the ultimate gatekeeping. They are confirming everything. The accuracy of the text one last time, the calligraphy's adherence to the rules, the binding quality, ensuring it matches the specific reading tradition, the ruwaya it's intended for.
Ah, so connecting back to those different historical readings like Hafs and Warsh.
Precisely. They ensure it's perfect according to its intended tradition and completely free of any error introduced anywhere in the process. Only when this huge committee gives the okay.
Then what?
Then, and only then, is the seal of approval applied. The Khatam al-I'timad.
The official seal.
That's the final guarantee.
Yeah.
Once it has that seal, it's ready to be shipped out globally.
That entire process is just mind-boggling. And it makes sense why there are variations then.
Absolutely. The manufacturing has to cater to a huge, diverse global audience. Think about translations alone. The sources mention versions in over 70 languages across Europe, Asia, Africa.
Accessibility too, right?
Yes. Things like Braille editions for the visually impaired, and those, of course, have their own specialized review process too.
You mentioned the different reading traditions, the riwayat affecting the checking. Does it actually change the physical book?
It can, yes. The most common one you see globally is Hafs and Asim. It's prevalent in the Middle East, Turkey, India.
Right.
But in North Africa, the Maghreb region, the Warsh and Nafi tradition is very common.
And a Warsh Mushaf looks different.
Subtly, yes.
Yes.
The script might have visible differences, especially in how vowel lengths, the mudud, are marked. Certain letters might be written slightly differently based on the phonetic rules of that tradition.
So someone used to reading Warsh would find a Hafs copy usable, but maybe unfamiliar.
Exactly. It's the same core text, but the rendering reflects the specific authenticated oral tradition. So the printing presses actually produce different physical versions for these traditions.
And then there are purely functional versions, too.
Right. Tailored for specific uses, you have the huge mosque size, al-Jawami, often on stands.
For public reading.
Then the pocket size, jeeb, maybe for travelers or soldiers needing something portable.
I've also seen ones with colors.
Ah, the Tajweed Mushaf. That uses color coding on certain letters or markings.
Why?
To help learners, especially beginners, get the pronunciation rules right. Things like idam, merging sounds, or guna, nasalization. The colors guide your pronunciation.
That's clever. Any others?
There's the mufassir type, which includes brief commentary, like the classic Tafsir al-Jalalain, right in the margins.
So you get context as you read.
Exactly. And another interesting one is the Wath wal Ibtida Mushaf.
Meaning?
It specifically marks recommended places to pause, Thaf,
Yeah.
and where to start again, Ibtida, during recitation. This is crucial to preserve the intended meaning. Pausing in the wrong place can sometimes subtly change things.
So incredible attention to detail in the physical object, but we live in the digital age now. The text is everywhere, on phones, tablets, Quran apps offer recitations, search, tafsir, everything. You don't need a physical shelf of books anymore.
And this is where that fascinating contrast comes in. The digital versions offer amazing convenience, accessibility, searchability, things the paper book just can't do. But the experience, it's different. The sources really touch on this. Opening a physical mushaf, especially one with that Khatam al-I'timad, that seal of approval.
Yes.
There's a certain reverence, a focus. They call it kushu. You feel the weight of it, the presence of it as a unique object.
Does that seal of approval even make sense for an app? Is a digital file certified in the same way?
That's a great question. Generally, no. The seal guarantees that specific physical copy that went through the 800-person review. The app is seen more as a tool, a rendering. Useful, incredibly useful, but different.
And there's a practical downside to digital, too.
Well, think about reading on your phone or tablet. What happens constantly?
Notifications, emails, messages, news alerts.
Exactly. The sources call them worldly notifications. They break your concentration. The device connects you to the world, whereas the physical Mushaf is often seen as a way to briefly step away from it, to focus solely on the text.
So what does this all mean? We've traced this journey.
Yeah, from that first handwritten line.
Through insane quality control, that 800-person committee.
To a reader anywhere in the world.
It really makes you think about the sheer effort involved. And it brings up that final question raised in the sources. In our super-fast digital age, will the paper Mushaf ever really be replaced?
The feeling seems to be. Probably not entirely. Methods change, technology evolves, but that physical certified paper copy, it holds a unique authority.
Because of the process behind it.
Because of the process, the history, the intention, the sources suggest a belief that while other ways to access the text are valuable, the paper version, born from all that effort, won't just disappear. That its light, so to speak, won't be extinguished by other lights.
An incredible blend of ancient tradition and modern industry. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. It's a process unlike anything else, really.
It truly is. And it leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it? Next time you see or hold a physical Mushaf, maybe just take a second. Consider the journey it took, the calligraphy, the checks, the 800 reviewers, all to make sure that specific copy was perfect for you. It's quite something.